J.A Myerson on the line with us, a writer for Alternet, contributor to Alternet, also his own blog or website, J.A Myerson, MYERSON.com. And J.A., you've been following kind of our reporter on the ground there in New York. What's going on?
I'm here at Liberty Plaza Park. It is bustling. The day is beautiful, crisp autumn, chilly air, and spirits are high after yesterday's enormous solidarity rally.
And, a lot of the footage that a lot of us saw of the yesterday's solidarity rally was sort of like the cops in 1968 in Chicago. I mean, it was police beating up people and arresting people. Was that one little piece that got magnified all out of proportion, as is usually the case, or was what happened yesterday?
Yeah, so there was this rally with upwards of 20,000 people from assorted labor unions and community organizations, and just people who heard about the rally, students who walked out, people who wanted to come out publicly in support of the efforts of those of us who are down here at Liberty Plaza Park. At the end of which, and that went off without a hitch, no violence. At the end of which, the crowd teeming at Liberty Plaza Park, about 1,000 people is the number I've heard, decided to go march on Wall Street, Wall Street itself, unauthorized, and went down there and in an act of civil disobedience marched on Wall Street and were confronted predictably with arrest, but unfortunately also with some brutality, some baton beating. I saw a man get his face bloodied by police. Some macing, in retaliation for which marchers marched downtown and took some streets in Lower Manhattan, which was precipitated even more arrests and police violence. And then eventually, around 10 o'clock, sort of settled down in Liberty Plaza Park. So the violence that erupted because of police backlash was at the very end of the day of what was a very exciting and positive, uplifting day.
The labor unions, a couple of the labor unions. Last night on my TV show, I had Leo Gerard. Yesterday afternoon, I interviewed Rich Trumka. A number of the labor unions are coming out in support of this, and organized labor showed up. There's politicians who are jumping on board. Peter DeFazio on the floor of the House yesterday talking about it. Today, the President of the United States saying, he understands why people are upset and what they're doing. The chairman of the Fed, Ben Bernanke, yesterday. I mean, to what extent? And then I get callers who say, "Oh my God, this is going to be a disaster. If anybody in the establishment endorses this, that means the movement is doomed." I'm curious what the mood is the wrong word. What the zeitgeist is there relative to this.
Yeah, well, everyone here is gratified for support, right? Support sustains us. Solidarity is the lifeblood of all of the movements that we've seen in 2011, from Tunisia to Egypt to the austerity capitals in Europe to Madison to right here. We're very, very grateful for support. It's easier to accept support from someone like Leo Gerard, who is in the movement, who's been fighting for years and years for the rights of working people and to liberate American politics from the corporate stranglehold, than it is to accept such kind words from President Obama, whose chief of staff is the former J.P. Morgan Chase and Company executive Bill Daley, and from the establishment Democrats who voted for TARP and accept Goldman money, and whose top staffers leave the public service charade, which isn't quite for them, and decide to cash out at Citibank or Goldman Sachs or Bank of America or the American Banking Association. So it's with trepidation that we accept the endorsement or kind words from folks who are that closely connected to the 1% who are steamrolling everyone.
So when
I would like to say I want to associate myself with the comments you made in the lead into this segment when you were talking about how essentially apolitical social movements can grow and grow and grow and eventually create a crisis in the country that exerts an enormous amount of pressure on the people in charge to actually change in response to the demand on the ground. And that's what I think we're seeing here. Occupy DC, I gather, is going really well right now. There were some arrests yesterday at Occupy Seattle. So we see this growing all around the country. We're very, very excited about that.
Yeah, and okay, good, because there is there is that moment of transition that happens, and I don't think, frankly, we're close to it yet. But when that happens, I mean, I'm old enough to have seen it in the '60s, and the civil rights movement and the anti-poverty movement that was what SDS actually started as, ended up with the Great Society and the signing of all these civil rights laws. I mean, the guy who was trying to kill us, Lyndon Johnson, with his crazy war in Vietnam, actually had to bow to the will of the people with regard to these other things. I know he was trying to end the war. It turns out now that the tapes are out, just last year, the Johnson Library tapes, we discovered that Nixon was sabotaging his efforts to end the war in Vietnam so he could get himself elected over Humphrey.
And Kissinger especially.
Yeah, but I digress. But in the just few seconds we have left here, J.A. Myerson, Contributor-Alternet. Where is this going? Any quick thoughts, or is this just keep the pressure on, keep it growing, grow nationwide?
Keep the pressure on, grow nationwide, occupy everything, and we don't have to come up with the solutions. We just have to make a crisis so that they come up with the solutions in order to make us relent.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I totally agree with you, and very, very well said. And I think that frankly, if you look at the history of all social movements, whether it's the women's suffrage movement, whether it's the civil rights movement, whether it's the abolition movement, whether it's the gay rights movement, where you name it, the movement to get Ronald Reagan to respond to an AIDS crisis, the movement, whatever it may be, that when enough people raised hell, and I'm not talking about violent hell, I'm just talking about when enough people, made enough noise, then the establishment moved, and so you guys keep making the noise. Good on you, J.A. Myerson. Thank you very much for being with us today. Good talking with you.